I lay with a genie for 5,000 upvotes on Reddit. Wouldn't you do the same? Wouldn't you cheapen yourself for an opportunity to be happy? Perhaps not. Every wish-granting story results in calamity and horror, after all. My tale is not new. It is a cautionary story as old as mankind. Still, you might be unfazed by the premise. You might be wondering what could possibly be so bad about making such a deal. I'm not squeamish about the concept of using sex to gain things, but this egregious entity wanted more than pleasures of the flesh. He showed me something. Something infinitely worse than death. My name is Faye, and I have a social media addiction. Recently, I started using Reddit, one of many sites I use to dull the ache in my mind. It's animalistic. There's something horribly hypnotic about that orange-hued arrow. The upvote. When the numeric counter flicks past 100, dopamine floods my woeful mind. However, the snowball slows, then eventually stops. There's nothing sourer than the come down. I'll never get past 400, I said. Huh? My flatmate Ian responded. On r/cats. You think Jerry's cute, right? Look at his little whiskers. I just want 1,000. 1,000 upvotes. That's not too much to ask, is it? I frowned. Ian rolled his eyes. For crying out loud, Faye, put your phone down. Jerry doesn't care about upvotes, and neither should you. My friend was right, of course, but it wasn't as simple as that. If it were, there would be no addicts. There would be no mental health crisis in the digital sphere. I knew that I, like so many other young people, probably needed to see a psychiatrist. I needed to address my issues. Issues which multiplied tenfold after terrifying events. But I didn't seek help. Not real help, anyway. I sought comfort from anonymous validation. Free medication. No prescription needed. You know, my mate told me about a way of getting whatever you want, Brian, my other flatmate, said. Ian huffed. No, ignore him, Faye. When does Brian ever have a good idea? Or a trustworthy friend, for that matter? Shh. I shushed Ian and motioned for my other flatmate to make his pitch. Brian smirked playfully, given, as I hope, that he had no understanding of the powerful forces he would recommend. A wish granter, Brian said. That's what you need, Faye. My friend, Sam, says, Sam's the friend. That guy is full of nonsense, Ian interrupted. Brian cleared his throat, continuing. Anyway, Sam says he found a guy in his meditation group who can make a person's wildest dreams come true. You mean a scammer? Ian corrected. Brian shook his head. Nope. Sam said this guy, well, he isn't really a guy at all. He's don't say it, Ian groaned. A genie, Brian finished dramatically. I smiled. Okay. Thanks for the great suggestion, Brian. Are you being sarcastic? He asked. You often say you believe in spiritual stuff, Faye. I do, I replied. But a genie? Really, Brian? Is Sam's wish-granting buddy a big blue ghoul with the voice of Robin Williams? Brian ignored me, hurriedly typing on his phone. Right, I'm texting Sam. I'm sure he'll introduce you to the guy, okay? The meditation group meets every Sunday in one of the town hall rooms. You know the ones? A sketchy man from a meditation class is going to help me to get 1,000 upvotes? I asked, grinning. A genie, Brian said, nodding. And he can grant as many upvotes as you want. Dream big, Faye. Dream big. 2,000 upvotes? I thought, chuckling. Heck, why not 5,000? Better not be any greedier than that, though. Genies are vindictive little monkeys. Brian was right. I've always been a spiritual person. But I believe in spirits and positive energies. Genies? That used to feel like fantasy fiction to me. It wasn't fiction. And it certainly wasn't fantastical. If I ever had to be granted another wish, it would be to rewind time. I wish I'd never gone to the class. I wish I'd never met Sam. And, above all else, I wish I'd never met him.
Hey!
Sam shouted across the room.
You're Faye, right? Brian's flatmate?
I nodded, awkwardly walking up to Sam and shaking his hand. I dropped my gym bag to the floor and nervously surveyed the room. I was surrounded by an eclectic group of people. Perspiring retirees, eager students, and dejected TikTok influencers. The stereotypical meditation crowd. I saw nobody who looked like a supernatural wish granter. Brian's friend chuckled at my furrowed brow. Yeah, he told me you were skeptical, Sam said. I was the same, Faye, but then I wasn't. What wish did you make? I asked. Nothing too grand, he said. I was worried about the catch. But it doesn't work like that, honestly. That was a lie. What do you mean? I asked. Sam sighed. Well, the man doesn't grant wishes for free, obviously. He names his price. Oh, I quietly replied. He smiled. Yeah. I wanted to be rich and famous, but the price was too steep. In the end, I simply wished for my family to stay healthy. That seemed like a moral wish. And what was the price? I asked. Sam opened his mouth to answer, then he quickly sealed his lips, like a gormless goldfish. The man was grinning at something behind me. Someone. Sam nodded his head, motioning for me to turn around, and I twisted to see a man. Just a man. There was nothing special about him. The stranger wore black, sagging tracksuit bottoms and an oversized t-shirt. In spite of his grey beard, the man seemed youthful. So youthful, he looked almost ageless. My skin itched. I don't know how to explain it, but I knew that this ordinary man was no man at all. It was more than an itch, in fact. It was a splinter in my side. Not a fluttery sensation like other supernatural events I'd experienced. This felt insidious. In hindsight, I realized that I was clenching my chest in frightful rather than gleeful anticipation. Something about the banal gentleman was off. His ordinary appearance was a facade. Those bright eyes and that endearing smile. Both felt disingenuous. "Hello, Faye," the stranger whispered. I smiled uncomfortably. "Hello. Sam warned you about me." "Something did," the man cryptically replied. "Of course. What's your name?" I asked. "An idea needs no name," he replied. "I'm simply what is required. I'm whatever you need. At a price, I said. The man nodded. Yes. So what is it that you desire, Faye?
We're starting the group now,
The instructor announced, eyeballing the stranger and me.
All conversations must be taken outside, okay? This is a quiet place.
The unnerving man beckoned for me to follow him outside, and I did, despite the nauseating knot in my stomach. My instinct was telling me to leave this unholiness alone. The situation felt wrong, but I was unable to resist. I needed to know whether my wish could come true. I wasn't going to be greedy. I made that promise to myself. 5,000 upvotes, I said, once we were alone in the corridor. That's what I want. The man shook his head. No, it isn't. I scoffed. I think I know what I want. Then tell me, he said. 5,000 upvotes, I insisted.
What you really want?
The man croaked, voice hardly real. There is no way to describe the existential fear of staring into his beaming brown eyes. Carnivorous chasms, waiting to consume me. I silently screamed at something within his pupils, or the things pretending to be pupils. It was a vision of immense size and clarity, the image of a lonely leafless tree in a barren wasteland, visible below the surface of the man's eyes. It was the desolate hell that the man felt I deserved. I understood that somehow. And though I quivered at the predator before me, I was unable to walk away. I gave him the answer he wanted. Wholeness, I said. The man nodded, smiling triumphantly. Yes, but you'll settle for falseness, won't you, Faye? Pride, glory, validation. The placeholders for true happiness. A tear cascaded down my cheek, and my lips feebly fluttered. I watched the landscape change in the pupils of the inhuman thing before me. A noose appeared from one of the tree's branches, which were like living, throbbing veins, and I saw my breathless body hanging from it. A festering corpse. Orange, arrow-headed maggots crawled from my orifices before ascending the tree, ever higher.
You're already dead,
the man whispered, but his lips didn't move. The words sounded in my mind. What? I murmured. He smiled. 5,000 upvotes on this forum. Is that what you seek? I shuddered, nodding slowly and biting my lip to stem the sobs that were desperate to burst free. The stranger had been described as a genial genie, a miraculous man. What would it cost? I asked. I don't want fame or fortune. I'm not greedy, I just...
Want something small,
the man finished. Not too much, and not too little. You're not asking for anything immoral. No. You're good, aren't you, Faye? I silently blubbered, and the man placed a hand on my shoulder. It was anything but comforting. However, comfort wasn't ever on the cards. The stranger was there to reveal the ugliness of my true self, not to aid me. That much was abundantly clear. And then he finally revealed the price. If you lie with me, I will grant your wish, he plainly said. Though it was less horrifying than the scenes he had revealed in his paranormal pupils. The man's proposition filled me with a revulsion that I do not know how to put into words. Yet, I agreed. He did not coerce me. I could control my bodily functions, and I agreed. I won't tell you about the deed itself. It took place in a storage closet. I detached from my body, picturing that glistening orange arrow, and the 5,000 digit that would appear beneath a picture of jovial Jerry. It was not the act itself which shattered me. That was the same as sex with any mortal man. It was the catch. With such cruel monsters, there is always a catch. Clothed, the man and I were standing in a storage closet lit by a swinging light bulb. We both watched it, captivated by the motion, and then darkness fell. I barely noticed that we were no longer standing in the closet. The cramped space had transformed into that arid landscape from the vision. The awful image I'd seen in the genie's eyes. The bristled bark of the wintry tree faced me, as did the noose attached to a sturdy branch. The man stood beside the ancient oak, and he pointed shakily at the rope, indicating that I should use it, slip my neck inside.
Empty yourself, Faye. You'll never desire wholeness again. This is my parting gift to you. A free wish.
He wheezed, speaking with a demonic tone. It wasn't my wish at all, of course. The noose swayed in the slight breeze of that fabricated, apocalyptic landscape, which I realised was no more than a hallucination in a cupboard. I started to screech as I saw that my limbs were operating of their own accord, carrying me unwillingly towards the noose. I took slow steps up a small set of stairs before walking across a feeble, elevated platform. There was a trapdoor beneath the noose. I eyed it in terror, and the wish granter nodded at the pocket of my joggers.
Before you go, take a look.
He smiled.
See your post, Faye. See your legacy.
As I fearfully slotted my head inside the noose, I found that I could freely move my right arm. The genie allowed me to unlock my phone and see a glorious picture of Jerry on r/cats. My post had precisely 5,000 upvotes. Tears streamed freely. The twisted truth is that, somewhere in my unwell mind, I felt a slight rush of joy. A rush that quickly faded, replaced with the terror of my impending death.
Not death,
The man silently whispered, reading my thoughts.
eternity. You'll never need to worry again.
The genie said aloud.
This is a wish I grant only to the truly broken. You are fortunate, Faye. You have been chosen.
Phone slipping in my shaky hand. I stared at the trapdoor beneath my feet, the door ready to give way when the genie snapped his fingers. I had one final idea. I tapped the ellipsis next to my Reddit post, and then I hovered my finger over one option. Delete. I tapped, and the hellscape fell still. No breeze, no movement, no sound but the genie's guttural grunts of disappointment. The man cocked his head to one side and observed me. The girl who was standing in floods of tears, a neatly knotted noose wrapped around her throat. His smile transformed into a frown, and he nodded.
Very well, Faye. I will have you. One day.
He promised. With a violent bang, the hellish tree vanished. I was lying on the floor of the dim storage closet, violated both physically and psychologically, but alive. And the man was gone. I don't use Reddit anymore. However, what haunts me is that I still crave those upvotes, still crave that fiendish fix. Did the man corrupt me with this desire? Was it already there? A hunger not easily satiated. I don't have any answers, but I know that stranger longs to grant my wish.